The Great Depression was a defining moment in American history, a crisis that reshaped the nation's economy, politics, and society in profound and lasting ways. It was a time of unprecedented hardship, as millions of Americans lost their jobs, their homes, and their hopes for the future. But it was also a time of remarkable resilience and innovation, as the country came together to confront the challenges of the day and lay the foundations for a more just and equitable society. At the heart of the Great Depression was a catastrophic economic collapse, triggered by the stock market crash of 1929 and exacerbated by a series of policy missteps and structural weaknesses in the global financial system. Banks failed, businesses shuttered, and unemployment soared to record levels, reaching a staggering 25% by 1933. The human toll was immense, with families struggling to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. In the face of this crisis, the federal government, under the leadership of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, launched an unprecedented series of initiatives designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. The New Deal, as these programs came to be known, fundamentally redefined the role of government in American life, establishing a social safety net and a regulatory framework that would endure for generations.
This Congress displayed a greater freedom from mere partisanship than any other peacetime Congress in our history since the administration of President Washington. Substantial gains, well known to all of you, have justified our course.
One of the most significant and enduring legacies of the New Deal was the creation of a modern welfare state. Programs like Social Security, unemployment insurance, and aid to families with dependent children provided a measure of security and dignity to millions of Americans who had been left behind by the ravages of the Depression. These initiatives represented a radical departure from the laissez-faire policies of the past, and they helped to create a more stable and prosperous middle class in the post-war years. But the New Deal wasn't just about providing relief to those in need. It was also about putting people back to work and stimulating economic recovery.
I could cite statistics to show you as unanswerable measures of our national progress. Our people re-employed in private industries and other hundreds of thousands given new employment through the expansion of direct and indirect government assistance of various kinds.
Programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps and the Works Progress Administration employed millions of Americans in public works projects, from building roads and bridges to creating parks and murals. These initiatives not only provided much-needed jobs, but they also left a lasting mark on the American landscape, from the iconic Hoover Dam to the majestic national parks that we still enjoy today. The Great Depression also had a profound impact on the American labor movement, as workers across the country organized to demand better wages, working conditions, and bargaining rights. The National Labor Relations Act of 1935, also known as the Wagner Act, guaranteed workers the right to form unions and engage in collective bargaining, ushering in a new era of labor activism and workplace democracy. The rise of organized labor helped to create a more equitable distribution of wealth and power in the post-war years, and it remains a vital force in American politics and society to this day. But the impact of the Great Depression wasn't limited to the domestic sphere. The crisis also had far-reaching consequences for American foreign policy and the global balance of power. The economic devastation wrought by the Depression led to the rise of fascist and authoritarian regimes in Europe and Asia, as desperate populations turned to strongmen who promised stability and prosperity at any cost. The United States, meanwhile, retreated into isolationism, eschewing international engagement and focusing on its own economic recovery. It wasn't until the outbreak of World War II that the United States fully emerged from its isolationist cocoon, recognizing the need for global leadership and cooperation in the face of existential threats to democracy and freedom. The war effort, coupled with the massive government spending and industrial mobilization of the New Deal, finally lifted the country out of the Depression and set the stage for a sustained period of economic growth and prosperity in the post-war years. The Great Depression also had a profound impact on American culture and the arts. The crisis inspired a generation of writers, artists, and musicians to create works that captured the struggles and hopes of ordinary Americans, from the gritty realism of John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath to the soaring optimism of Aaron Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man. The New Deal's Federal Art Project and Federal Writers Project supported thousands of artists and writers, many of whom went on to become major figures in American cultural life. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the Great Depression was the way it transformed our understanding of the role of government in the economy and society. The crisis exposed the limits of free market capitalism and the need for government intervention to promote stability, equity, and growth. The Keynesian economic theories that emerged in the wake of the Depression, emphasizing the importance of fiscal stimulus and demand management, would become the dominant paradigm for economic policymaking in the post-war era. Today, as we grapple with the challenges of economic inequality, climate change, and political polarization, the lessons of the Great Depression remain as relevant as ever. We must recognize the vital role that government can play in promoting the common good, while also being mindful of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of individual liberty and initiative. We must work to build a more just and equitable society, one that provides opportunity and security for all, not just the privileged few. Hey there, thanks for watching. I've personally always loved a great story. I've always felt that there's so much richness and lessons to be taken from all of the things that happened before us in our past. And on this channel, that's exactly what we'll be covering. All of the social, economic, and cultural contributions of all of the different countries and societies that came before us on this planet. So if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, click subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.